And we're live. Oh, good morning, everyone. I know this probably isn't the most convenient hour to be streaming game development stuff, but this is the hour I picked given my work schedule. Today we'll be working on shading Spade the Panda sprites from Freedom Planet 2. Thanks to Kubo, it's possible to play as Spade in Freedom Planet 2 with his mod. Unfortunately, Spade is still missing a lot of player animations. He can't look up, he can't climb ladders or rail grind or anything. So what I'm going to help do over the course of some weeks is shade his existing sprites. I've even had some help from one of our lead artists on Freedom Planet Academy, Leave, do some work as well. He just decided to contribute some. We're basically going to shade the sprites that he has, and then work on making all new animations from there. Ladder climbing, attacking. There's just, as you can see on the sheet right here, there is a lot that's missing. Oh, hello, Mike Harvey. Oh, it's been a while. Well, today is going well. I just got off work a while ago, got home, got all comfy, ate some breakfast, and now I'm working on some Spade sprites. Just started. And, so we'll be shading his good existing sprites, then making new animations to fill in the gaps. And hopefully, Spade and Freedom Planet 2 will play very nice and pretty, like the rest of the cast. I don't expect the frame count for every animation to compare to the official game, because it is very agonizing to have so many frames for, say, the ladder climbing animation. But it should be up to a quality that people could mistake for the official thing, almost. Or to rephrase it more appropriately, just it feels like an extension of the existing game, something that could realistically belong in it. That's very important. Oh, and I'm sorry to hear that. I hate any kind of respiratory infection. It's just, that is a true nightmare, and I hope you feel better soon. That's, oh Lord. I just, even with vaccines, the flu is still quite awful to sit through. At least it means you're not hospitalized, but oof. Well, oh, well, hopefully by day 7 everything's back to normal. Yeah, I hope so. And yes, in any case, I think I've introduced the purpose of the stream and everything. So yeah, let's get to work. I'm gonna be streaming this art today with my little mouse. I finally found a mouse with almost no travel to it. It's the most silent clicks you could imagine. It's just you can just barely hear it. And again, no travel, so it's really easy on my hands. And it helps for more precise pixel art. Normally I do prefer my Wacom tablet for a lot of spriting from scratch, but for rendering and graphical UI elements and such, the mouse is just it's hard to beat. But I couldn't use the mouse for a long time because even the gamer mice I could find, they just there was too much travel on them, so my wrists and fingers would just start to scream after a while. But then I found this mouse, just a standard Logitech mouse. Did me better than a gamer mouse. And yes, I agree, a good mouse is necessary for pixel art, I think. I still miss one of my first mice that I used to have when I started taking pixel art more seriously. It was one of those old-fashioned ball mice instead of the laser kind, but it was wireless and it used like 2 AAA batteries. It would run off those for like 4 weeks. You'd almost forget to even put new batteries in it. And I just cleaned the ball and it like, and the wheels inside of it like once every 2 weeks, and it was like the best thing for me. I just loved that mouse. Wish I still had it, but this particular mouse has been like the best thing that I've had since then. Every other mouse before then just definitely felt like an inferior experience. And so yeah, this has been the perfect one for me. And that's why I started pixel arting more with a mouse again. For a long time I was almost exclusively using a tablet because like everything else just had, it's just too much pressure necessary per click, and that starts to add up when you're old like me. I'm gonna be 35 this year, so I really cannot be clicking those big bulky gamer mice. In fact, I'm probably of the age where one of those trackballs that you roll around would probably make more sense, but I never learned how to use one of those, so yeah, just sticking to old creature comforts and habits. Oh, good to know we're in the same club here, at least. It's the age club. Oh Lord. But yeah, even when you're my age, you can still pixel art just as vigorously as ever, as long as you have the right tools. That makes all the difference. So yeah, maybe enough exposition about my age and ergonomics. Let's drill down into this. I think we also have a to-do list, so y'all can see the animations that are missing. So we still need to, like, holding on to bars, ladder climbing, throwing cards while running. We also need that. Air dash, item pickup, and of course sitting on benches. At least we don't need a dancing animation this time, so we got lucky on that one. I mean, I would have loved it if FP2 had dance animations, but as you can see, budgeting for that thing as is like logistical nightmare, so some things had to go. Okay, yeah, there's, I think that's my usual zoom level. There we go. And yes. And yes, Luigi fan. I'm helping with the mod. Like, I don't know any C# yet, so I couldn't help with the code part, but I can help with the art for it. And that's what matters just as much as the code when it comes to video games. Like, yeah, you could be like Leonardo da Vinci with shaders, and none of that would matter if you didn't have good art to use those effects on. So it's very important to have good art in video games. Like, and good art, the bar for it is lower than you'd think. Like, what is good art? It doesn't need to be on this particular level, for instance. You don't have to like have these big fighting game level sprites with like 32 colors and whatnot. Like, anything can be good. Like, just look at this this forklift I made for Shane the Architect. Like, it's as simple as it gets, but it does the job. It's like, oh hey, that's a forklift, instead of like, oh god, what is this crusty thing that I think resembles a forklift? It has like 4 colors, and it works. It does its job. It's perfect. And poor Leone only gets like 2 frames for his run cycle, but he appears on the screen for like 3 seconds. You don't need to go hard for a run cycle when these 2 frames are all you're going to see for like 3 seconds, so I mean, it's cool when artists go hard, but like when you're trying to make a video game of scope, you have to make choices, like selectively putting more of your time and budget into things that is going to matter the most to the player experience, the end user. So you're like, okay, I guess that trash can in the tile set we're only going to give it 3 colors. That'll be okay. But, the player sprite's like, oh, we can't go lower than 8 colors or 12. Yeah, you have to do some extra shading on that because that's what they'll be paying attention to the most. Only like a very observant player would notice, like, hey, there's something funny about that trash can. It's almost colored like a Game Boy Color sprite. Very few people are going to stop and look at that level. So, yeah, you can selectively shade things up to a certain quality and bump up the quality for things that the player will pay the most attention to. And you can have a budget, like a reasonably good budget looking game without having to like make everything look like a work of art on its own. Like when you've got to make like 24,000 sprites, you have to make some choices. Oh, and I agree. Like higher resolution does make it harder to cut corners on those details. And as you can see on Spade sprites, there's a lot of detail to go around. Like I probably spent 2 days as a part-time effort just shading his walk cycle, and I still need to fix his hair. Like I kind of messed up his hair animation while doing this. Like there's just so much that you just can't ignore with this. Whereas, with like Freedom Planet 1 sprites, they were so small that you could kind of fudge up certain details, like, the number of fingers on their hands and whatnot. Like, if you can just get away with them looking like they have 2 fingers on their hand for a certain frame and you can't figure out how to make that third hand go in there, that's fine. Nobody's going to notice that. But with FP2 sprites, yeah, you better not go lower than 4 fingers. Somebody will notice that, and it just breaks the immersion of the experience. Because like once you notice something, you can't unsee it, and it's distracting, and it's like, oh no, this is taking me out of the experience. And that's one of the reasons like working on Freedom Planet 2 quality sprites is so hard, because like there's more surface area to render as well. Like, again, with Freedom Planet 1 sprites, like they're really tiny in comparison, so it's just like you'll probably spend like 5 minutes like slapping some shading onto each frame. Whereas with this one, it's like, okay, I gotta shade his hand, his gauntlet, his arms, then like shading and contrasting his pants and his shoes. Like his color palette is thankfully like very conservative, as you can see right here. So our pain could be much worse in this regard. But it's still like a lot of individual surfaces to consider. Like the amount of extra detail allowed by the higher resolution means you just can't you can't let certain details go. Like and Lilac, in particular in FP2, like she's basically got 2 layers of clothing as well. You can just imagine what a pain that was to animate. Oh yeah, let's do a quick color count. I think these are the same colors. Let's check with. Oh yeah, this is like these are 2 versions of the palette basically. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, I think it's like 14 or 15, yes. Which is pretty nice. Like it's one of the mercies that we'll have when working with this mod. Is like, yeah, like the more colors you have, the more time you're going to spend rendering it too. And with Freedom Planet 2 sprites, they're very conscious of that, thankfully. So it's like most you get with Lilac, for instance, is maybe 16 colors at most, which is still a lot. Like that is torturous to render. But your problem could be worse. Like, when I was shading Carrie sprites for shading the architect, like restoring that character, I think I gave her a palette of like 25 colors to help her pop out more. But that meant that I spent even longer on her sprites. So it's like, why did I do that to myself? And then Chiasa over there had like 29 colors on her palette, and I'm over just And in retrospect, screaming at myself, like, no, why did you do that to yourself? That is just, like, I don't even know if daft would be an understatement here. That's just, the intense lack of foresight is just incredible. And even with that many colors, people were still disappointed with the limitations in terms of, like, palette swapping options. Like, she still had some shared colors between her hair and her clothes, so you couldn't, like, use certain parts of the color range, like color her hair different from her outfit, etc., etc. And it's just like, oh, I don't feel like going over the sprites again just to change some RPG values on different parts of the body. Oh my god, just so. Yeah, that sucked. No nice, pretty Libby palette for you, for Chiasa. I'm very sorry. So, yeah. So I learned the hard way. A palette like this limited is, it's a mercy to have it like that. And so I'm very grateful that when Pixie was like finalizing the design for the character, like the protagonist for my next game project, that character has like 11 to 12 colors at most. And when I started creating more sprites for the character, it was like, oh my god, this makes shading her so easy. Like, it would just take a matter of minutes to shade all her whole body. And it's like, oh my god, this is so nice. And it still pops out, the design is still great. Like, that's the beauty of an intelligently designed and limited color palette. Like, it still pops out, looks pretty, but it's not asking too much of you in terms of like long-term, in the long haul of working on the project. And so, yeah, like, my biggest pain with the character is just like, animating new stuff from scratch. My animation theory is kind of rusty, so it's taking some time to work on that on the side of Freedom Planet Academy. Mostly just working on the campaign for this fan game, though. Like, that's got to be finished first. But on the side, I've been occasionally making new animations for that character, and like, the bigger pain is just making the animation work nicely rather than like, oh my god, I have to like redo it and throw out all the shading I threw on top of it. Oh no. Just, yeah, it's nice. So that was a hard learned lesson for me, and I'll definitely carry that forward into my next game projects. Shanghai Architect / Freedom Planet Academy was like me cutting my teeth on making a game of this scope. So I've learned a lot of hard, painful lessons that should make development of my future projects a little bit smoother. Oh yeah, I definitely feel rusty as well. At least for this stream, like, I'll mostly be shading like existing sprites, so I don't have to worry about red line stick figures and whatnot yet. But we'll get to that. Once all these sprites are shaded, it's like, oh my god, we gotta do all that. In fact, I just remembered I need to make like an animation model of Spade where it's like it's a technique that Pixie showed me for my next game's protagonist that honestly made animating her a lot less of a pain. Like, I'll see if I can demonstrate that, and I need to make this model for later anyway, so we'll just go ahead and do it now. Basically, what Pixie would do is like, take the base sprite of a character and just kind of, we'll just go ahead and remove some of these. Let me put this on a different layer so I can like remove the extra shading, because we won't be needing that. And I'll tell y'all what I'm doing as I demonstrate this. Wait, no, we need to keep that one. Let's go ahead and color reduce this very carefully with color select. Yeah, and I think we can also just like, no, let's be more intelligent about this. And also like get rid of these. And yes, I use GIMP to do my pixel art, as cursed as that is. And I recently figured out they restored like the original icon theme for GIMP from years and years ago, and I oddly felt pretty nostalgic for it. It was like, oh my god, this is like reminds me of when I was like first using GIMP to seriously pursue like digital art, like over 10 years ago. And that was a very nice feeling for me personally. It's just, wow, this is like, it's nice being able to have all the quality of life of modern GIMP, but some of the theme from the original that I still remember from when I was first learning how to do pixel art and digital art more seriously. And yeah, I guess it's true. It's not cursed if it works. It's definitely a very specific workflow. It's making like adapting to Ace of Sprite a little difficult. I don't even know how to pronounce it correctly even. Oh, and yes, hello there. Dash the Hedgehog, I haven't seen you in a while. Also nice, clever color usage here. Like they only needed like one proper green color for Spade's eye, because like the red shading does everything else thanks to his sunglasses. That's why he only needs one green. But yes, now I've done the color reduction. Now let's see if I can adapt what Pixie showed me onto the sprites. So like, okay, so these are his most distant limbs, and these are like the foreground limbs. So what I need to do is like color them a little bit differently in simpler form. So yes, how would I best approach that? So oh yeah, and I can't use my my base model as a reference from my next game's protagonist, because I forgot to copy it onto the sheet. Because y'all would see the big surprise character, and it's like, oh my god, no, I can't reveal her just yet. Like, cause not because I'm super crazy about spoilers or anything. Like, I think that's just childish. But it's like, revealing a new character is more impactful when you can like show it working in a full-fledged video game, I think. So it's just kind of like saving the excitement for later. But yeah, so we need to like here we go. Okay, I think I'm getting my bearings. So like basically the furthest limbs from the camera get colored with the darkest shades that you have. That way you can distinguish them from the lighter ones. So like, go ahead and put that on here. And yes, this should be like his darkest color. And I don't think we need to worry about distinguishing the shirts too much. It's just like getting the limbs separated from each other color-wise. Then, and ideally, you like depending on the character design, you'd want the forearm and all separated too. But you don't need to worry about that here. Spade doesn't have like an exposed like elbow joints, so we don't need that level of separation at least. Then we'll also like just have this particular arm. Oh yeah, and what I'm doing currently, yes, sorry for not reading sooner. For anyone who's watching the stream without context, I'm currently working on sprites for the Spade Freedom Planet 2 mod that Kubo is working on. Like, so Spade the Panda is fully playable in Freedom Planet 2 right now, but he's currently missing like half of the usual animations that he needs So he's basically like running backwards over rail grinding, rails for rail grinding and things like that. So what I'm going to do is like finish shading all of his sprites, all of his existing ones from the unused playable boss that he was going to be at one point. And then after that, we'll start making all new animations for him from scratch, like with like Nira's player animations as a reference. I will not like edit him directly on top of her because, like, you know, given the scope of these sprites, how big they are and everything, it would not actually save any time. It would just be like extremely messy and gross looking. So I'd kind of like redline her animations, recreate the skeleton of the animation, and then start drawing like Spade on top of that skeleton. So like for ladder climbing, like it'd basically be kind of like hers, but done completely from scratch, so it looks all new, even if the core of the animation doesn't change much. And there isn't that much variation how characters climb ladders anyway. Like, it's not like, you know, Mila's legs are having to climb ladders any differently than the other characters, for instance, despite her big toes. You know, so yeah, so we can do that. Like, some of his attack animations are going to be a little funny when it comes to that. And yeah, I'm trying to think like what would be the best way to simplify his face as well. Yeah, we can make this part of the scarf extremely dark as well for the animation model. Let's get rid of that. Like, you want as few colors as possible, like ideally like 3 or 4 with your animation model, so to speak. And but you also kind of want like the entire body to be using like your primary colors. You don't want them to be colors that are different from the actual sprites themselves. Like that just, or at least for me, that just throws me off too much. Oh, if you have any advice, like, you know, next time you watch my stream and I'm doing new animations from scratch and I'm struggling, like, I would absolutely love the help, because like, I can animate, but my animation sense is not up to like a commercial standard. I've just kind of informally picked up on some things over the years. I haven't like properly studied animation, so like anticipation frames and things like that, I have some gaps in my knowledge. Like, if there was just a book based on my knowledge of animation, like transposed onto a book like the Animator Survival Kit, there would be like, the first page would be filled in, 100 pages would just be blank, and then there'd be another page at the end of this 100 blank pages, and then another 100 blank pages before you get to the next one, etc., etc. And then you get to the end of the book where it's just like, WTF, I don't know, I give up. Just like, that's just that's where my animation understanding stands. Like, again, I can do some stuff, but yes, there's to say there's a lot I don't know would be an understatement. You know, so like, that's why like I've gotten a lot of useful feedback for some of the animations for my next game's protagonist, because like, it'd be pretty obvious that certain motions were a bit stiff or just could have been better overall, you know. Yeah, it's good to know that struggle isn't unique to me, at least. Yeah, we all have to get past that hump, you know, with the things we love to do. And, oh, yeah, that's right, just instead of getting rid of information, we just need to simplify it. Well, that's the wrong thing, a beginner. Like, I mean, there's still things I'm learning to this day about making video games, and I've been doing this since I was like 14 off and on. I'm gonna be 35 this year, so yeah, I'm still learning like the funny things that GameMaker does on the back end that I can use to my advantage, even after all that time. And I'm old enough that when GameMaker 4.3 came out, I downloaded it on the family computer over dial-up internet, waited like half an hour for the installer to download, then copied it to like several floppies and put it on my Windows 98 computer. And immediately fell in love with the interface and the fact that, oh my god, my dream of making video games is right here in front of me, instead of being like this distant thing where I would have to be a coding guru to do everything that I wish to achieve. Just that being accessible was just like magic to me back then. I still very fondly remember my first foray into making video games. Obviously, none of those early games I made were any good, and very fewer still were finished even. But I had fun doing it. I had fun learning, and that's what mattered. And I learned to do nots as well. I feel like you can read what not to do's all the time on the internet, but you can only get so much value out of that because everyone's individual experience and journey in the arts is different. So you're gonna stumble so no matter how many do nots you read, you're gonna make your own mistakes and realize, okay, this is how I in particular don't do this. This is how I should not do that. Oh, well, I haven't missed anything yet. Arca is just like making a simplified version of Spade Sprite for when I start to animate him in the future. But yeah, this is what Pixie taught me. I believe just I think this that color is too dark. And this is basically just to distinguish individual limbs when working on him. Oh yeah, we can get rid of lines too, for the most part. Well, that's interesting. It's funny how that works out, isn't it? Again, because the arts isn't like a science. It's art. It's yes, there are definitely established theories out there that help produce pleasing results, but the finer details. All the times we have to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. It's that experimentation never stops with art. And what works for one artist isn't going to work for another. Some people paint trees with palette knives. Some people use it, toothpicks and toothbrushes. Everybody's got a different method to make their own art. So, yeah, a do not for a particular art style would be a do for a different one, for instance. So I think, that's definitely good to bring that up. Yeah, I could see them having educational value in a generalized level, but yeah, I guess what I'm trying to communicate at least is that no matter how much you try to prepare yourself with the do nots, you're going to find your own do nots along the way. There's just no getting around it. We're all gonna screw up in our own individual way, and that's okay. It's just part of the journey, and I think that's fine. And yeah, let's actually shade some existing sprites for now. I need to go look at that reference model for later to get this right, and I can't look at it right now because I'm in desktop mode. So oops, I'd show some things that I shouldn't show yet. I'd love to just let y'all peek at this, but I need to keep it zoomed out at 0.9% because, yes, keeping the element of surprise in mind. So yes, where are we missing shading? I think I have a change lock for Spade still. Or no, I didn't have the change lock for him. So, So, okay. So yes, Leaf shaded the running cycle. I shaded the walk cycle. Still need to finish his hair, but it's finished. It can be used. Rolling has not been shaded. And that should be pretty easy because I can just shade this one frame and use rote Sprite to help me create the other variations and then clean up the noise and the generated result. So that should be an easy starting point for us. And Leaf shaded this animation. I still need to finish this one myself. As you could probably see, I make sure to note on the sheet who did what, because I care very much about credit, especially in free projects. Pixie once told me, credit is all you're gonna get in projects like these. So in my mind, it's especially heinous to just gloss over credit. It's all you're getting out of volunteer projects. So you really should at least have that. That's your compensation. Yeah, and Leaf shaded the hurt animation, so we're good on that one. I think it might need a couple. Oh, wait, that's right. The way hurt sprites work in FP2 is different, so we don't need alpha blended versions of it. Yeah, so I think what I could do was go ahead and get the jump animation sorted out, and then do some of the cutscene sprites, because we still do need those too. Why mod Spade end and then not also shade the cutscene sprites go along with it, so that when you're playing other parts of the game as different characters, you can see his sprites being finished. Yeah, and that's good to have, Creeper Boy. Yeah, that's really good. Credit really matters in passion projects. Yeah, so yeah, and cutscene sprites are low-hanging fruit because it's mostly just standing in place and mouths flapping for the most part. As you can see, this does have some complexity to it. It changes quite a bit before he starts talking. So yeah, let's go ahead and start with this. And I think I'll yeah, so I've been doing a lot of talking. Make a floating copy of this sprite so we can have that as a reference while I do the rolling animation. We'll paste this over here. Just reference. That way I can not just have his extra colors to look at, but also orient myself as to where those extra colors should be going, so we can get this right. So let's go ahead and get his clothes sorted out. You'd be amazed just how much extra contrast you can get in certain parts of sprites just by having some darker colors here and there. Then we can just add some neat little highlights to give it a little granularity to it. I need to see a speech therapist at some point. No way around that. So yes, we can go as hard as we want on the shading for this, because again, I can use rote sprite to get the other results. Yeah, I'm making it too clean so it looks unnatural. Because with the smear frames, they have to be a little bit chaotic, I think. Yeah, it probably makes sense to have some smeared shading here and there. At least I think it would. And this I'm sure can be dark entirely because like there's like one highlight color here. Oh, yeah, no, don't want to be distracting with color choices. Oh yeah, shading is a particularly difficult thing when you're just first starting out in art because like I wouldn't say it's like that hard with like lots of organic forms like trees, you know, like trees and rocks, you know, they like you don't have to worry about subsurface scattering for most of those things, or even like skeletal structures that can reshape and morph the exterior appearance of the character's form. So it's just like, yeah, I think subsurface scattering for trees just kind of stops at like, oh, here's some reddish hues to imply like the cellular structure that's going on there. But you know, then you get to characters and it's like, okay, look at this kneecap over here. It basically has two different shapes that it can appear to take on the surface just because of like how that works. This understanding the skeleton and muscles alone can help you a lot with shading because it can help you figure out how to simplify the implication of that movement, of that subsurface movement with more simplified cells, for instance, for like animation. You know, kind of like what anime does. Like, you know, and you know, our joints in particular are very difficult for beginning artists as well because, like, you know, just look at the elbow. Like, it changes shape so much with just a ordinary articulation. And just understanding how the skeleton transforms the apparent shape of the limb alone helps a lot with figuring out how to shade it, I think. And that couldn't be more apparent with the knee because, like, there's very few parts of the body that look so completely different in different articulation states, I think. Okay, and the scarf just has like one extra color, so we got lucky on this one. There's already a lot of extra colors for this one. Oh yes, and I agree, knees are even worse. They're not very easy. It's kind of fortunate that a lot of characters are fully clothed, so you don't have to think too much about how the knee changes the shape of the skin, because it's not like you know, the clothing kind of obfuscates that transformation to some degree, at least. It still helps to understand it regardless, because, especially for like skin tight pants, but get a little bit more creative license, just a little bit more. If your understanding of the underlying skeleton has gaps in it, it will still be obvious that, you know, something's wrong here with the way this knee looks on this character's jeans, you know, but still, like, oh lord. Like, I think that's why a lot of artists just like fully clothe their characters, because it's very like, you have to be very confident in your art and anatomy to be comfortable with like you know, partially clothed characters. You know, like going all barbarian with the you know, like in SpongeBob, how they just have like a little tiny loincloth, you know, over the obvious spots. Like the more skin that's exposed, the more your anatomy needs to shape up to the task, I think, quite literally. And perspective is another one that demands so much of our respect and time as well. Like, because like, no matter how good you get at anatomy, like not being able to attach the character to the ground properly just makes everything look wrong. Oh, I can imagine like modeling would help a lot in that regard. Because like you're directly working with 3D space to create things. Like it's incredible, especially in terms of perspective. Like I can just imagine, uh, what that did to your understanding of anatomy and perspective. I have a lot of respect for people who do like 3D art pretty much exclusively. Like that's just that is like some proper magic they're doing there, and I greatly admire it. I would love to do it myself. Like even people who just get halfway there with what they wanted to do with 3D art is still a miracle. Honestly, I think. um, yes, that's right. And I forgot the scarf has like 4 colors. That's already quite a bit. I tried to be careful with adding extra colors, and I think leaf may have helped quite a bit with the palette as well, like as far as I remember at least. And that's good. Like perspective is like probably one of the tent pole prerequisites for making good art, I think. Like if you ain't got perspective, I don't know what there is to have with art. Yeah, it's very important. Having that nailed down is like okay. I'll just be repeating myself with different words there. Well, as y'all can see, I can talk quite a bit about the craft, but mostly just talk about what I wish I knew more about, rather than like uh, being able to disseminate lots of craft specific advice that would be immediately applicable in anything you're doing right now. I just, I'm learning like a lot of you are, I would say. Um, but, like art is probably one of those processes where you're always learning something new. There's always something you haven't drawn yet, honestly. Like when I did the Carol's motorcycle for a piece of Freedom Planet fan art, I was like, wait a minute, I realized I'd never drawn a single motorcycle in my entire life, and my brain just fell apart. It's like, oh my god, what do I do? Just, okay, I was like in my late 20s and never drew a motorcycle before. Just, like, how? Well, there you go. There's lots of, so you'll always have like something to study and learn from. And the people who seem to have like a great diverse range of things that they can draw like really shows you like the full extent of their visual memory. Like they have learned how to draw a diverse range of things, and their texture and visual memory is like at a very high level. Or their fundamentals at art are so good that even if they haven't drawn something before, like they still like their pros while doing it. Like they just know how to break down the shapes of everything into something they can intuit, um, with their pre-existing understanding of the arts. And that's just incredible. Like I do have a couple of friends who can draw like that. Like I was recently showing one friend like some artwork of polyester from the Samurai Pizza Cats, and he figured out how to draw her on model in like 2 sketches. 2 sketches. Just figured it out. It's like, okay, this is like the shape of her muzzle. This is like proportions, the size of the head, and like she's this many heads tall. Just figured all that out on the spot, and it looks like a canon sketch. Basically, it's like wow. Just like having your fundamentals in a good place. Like, it's a powerful thing. So like, despite him basically never drawing anime characters or having not drawn even a character like that before, he just nailed it. I respect artists who can just do that. Oh Lord. Are you not able to see the stream? And yes, never stop learning. Oh. Oh, I agree. Like, I just, I really need to brush up on my fundamentals for animating my next game, that's for sure. Because, like, that would get me a lot more mileage than just, mindlessly grinding away at learning how to draw that particular character for hours and hours and just hoping I get good results from that. There's it's one of the keys to being more efficient at art. Like, I have some friends who don't really need to dedicate that much time each day to their sketches, at least, just because their fundamentals are in a good place. So they get quite a bit done, and like in the amount of time it takes me to shade like one sprite of Spade, they could have like done three of those frames. Of course, granted, my focus is split between the chat and talking and whatnot, but still, I'm still a bit on the slow end when it comes to spriting and whatnot. And yeah, those little buffering issues are to be expected with live streams, but it helps that the weather has cleared up, so at least that's not a factor for the reliability of the stream. In fact, it's like bright and beautiful right now, so. Oh, and I would appreciate that, Mike. Like, I love your work, honestly. And it's still incredible to me that you're still around and we're still able to keep up with each other's work. I still remember, like, a long time ago, like, you wanted to work on a Shantae fan game with me, and I thought we just kind of parted ways after, like, my commitment to that fell through. But no, it's nice that you're still around. And yes, I do try to take my time. Like, it's kind of funny to think, like, that was probably, like, my God, what year was that even? Like, what, 2014 or something? No, that was when Freedom Planet 1 released. 2012, maybe? Wow, we just kind of known each other for a while. Wow, how the time flies. And I do still... Yeah, no, that is true. Even my Shantae fan game fell to the wayside just because of work on this fan game. And I do still want to make that Shantae fan game after Shenmue Architect is done. Like, I've still got the finished script, and I've got a finished game engine. I'll have to... And Game Boy Color styled tile sets would be so easy to slap together. Like so easy in comparison to working on, like, Freedom Planet 1 or 2 art. Like, I think it would just be a really fun side project, and like, I just and I still love Shantae very much. Like, I think it's such a great series, and and I think it deserves more games to exist, and there hasn't really been much in the way of fan games, and Way Forward are totally okay with it, as long as it's done appropriately. So yeah, I'd still like to make a short one. And I think, given that I've got, it's like 10 plus years of more life experience behind me, like, I could write a more authentic script as well. Because, at the time, like, my writing was kind of rough because my social intelligence was also rough. So I think I could write more natural character interactions at this stage in my life. I think so. Hopefully, I can write like NPC dialogues and stuff, like up to a decent standard. I want it to feel. I want that fan game to feel like it would very much feel at home within the game's own canon, the official canon. I mean, like it obviously would still just be like fan work, but it wouldn't be so self-indulgent as to like fully diverge itself from the original work. It feels like it could be like a healthy extension of it. And yes, I know that would be complicated for you because you've worked with Way Forward, right? So yeah, that would be a little sticky. Uh, but again, that is so cool. Um, I just, there's so many people that just wish they could work for Way Forward, and I mean, honestly, it'd be cool just to work with them on one project like this. They're very fun people. I still follow them all on Twitter, and they're just great. And some of them are very charming gremlins in their own ways too. It's quite fun. And yes, Freedom Planet still hasn't quite let go of me yet either. Like, I'm very committed to finishing this fan game, as well as helping out the modding scene a little bit. Like, I do feel like if I contribute a little bit to the modding scene, maybe it would also help inspire other fans. Like, oh hey, this is what could be done with modding. Now I want to try my hand at it. I feel like FP being so niche does kind of like limit the number of people willing to volunteer to throw themselves at projects of the scope just for mods. The fact that it's a 2D game does make the art department a little bit harder. But it would be nice if more people came out of the woodwork to do cool stuff. Just because they saw that the capacity to do great things was there. Hmm. Oh, and of course. Yeah, I need to drink something. There. Well, I was insecure about my writing for a long time as well, Creeper. Like, my very first novel manuscript, which I honestly still need to revise and publish at some point. Like, it went through so many revisions, like you wouldn't believe, just because I was insecure about this or that, and at one point I realized I had too much content anyway and ripped out like 200 pages from it, because it's like, none of this is relevant to the plot, so it just kind of bogs it down for anyone, like trying to actually read it for the story, but there's only so much you could indulge in when writing, I've noticed, especially with books. Like, video games, there's a lot you can do to supplement a video game experience, because you have all this optional stuff that you can have the player look at if they want to immerse themselves and drink in more of the game world. And with books, you do have appendixes and whatnot for that purpose as well, but there's only so much of that you can throw at people reading books, because having the patience to dig through all that stuff is a little bit on the uncommon side, especially nowadays, because most people prefer to consume their media visually now that it's possible. Yeah, it was good to see you too, Dash. I hope your day goes well. I appreciate you stopping by. And yes, and I am sorry I'm so slow at spriting. Like, I should have already been done with this frame, but it's like, no, but I see this other little thing I want to tweak. just Right. I'm not going too hard on that particular. Yeah, but I wouldn't. But, Creeper, I wouldn't like get too hung up on like making mistakes with writing, because like obviously you're uh, one of the best ways to learn is just messing up sometimes, honestly. Even so, it helps to just experiment, throw things at the wall, see what sticks and what doesn't, and you'll gain a lot from that. I certainly learned a lot of my own don'ts and do's from like working on my own manuscripts and whatnot for novels. At one point, I wanted to make a sci-fi novel and ended up turning into science fantasy. Went down a rabbit hole of time travel and whatnot. I was like, oh my god, I need to rein in what I'm doing here somehow and make a coherent story. Ended up learning a lot that way. I will never write time travel again, though. It is like the worst thing ever. Just do not. You will be quoting Captain Janeway very quickly where she says like time travel gives me a headache. Just she's gonna need more coffee to get her head around this, just oh my lord, yeah, I need to like change the implied shape here. And yeah, it's as long as you're not writing time travel, like you can't go too wrong. And in my experience, at least, one thing I can suggest is like write what you know, but also be willing to write what you're willing to research too. Like, trying to write too far outside your area without the willingness to do the homework. That's what lands you in a lot of trouble with readers, in my experience at least. Like if you want to write a story with some like allegorical connections to colonialism, but you don't do half your academic research on that and fudge up all the major plot points, and it all falls apart to the reader's eye, and they're like, oh my god, you're such a problematic writer, and I'm going to cancel you on Twitter 5 times over with my angry following of 20,000 basement dwellers or something. Just, so that's especially important with the more emotional stories, because like you can only drop so many emotional beats before the whole thing starts to fall apart. It's like maybe starting off with like not trying to write too many emotional stories from the start. Just kind of like try to just feel your way around like how you want to write emotions, especially. Yeah, boneless cat is very relevant in this case. The boneless cat paradox instead of the grandfather paradox or something. Like, just going back and stealing your grandfather's skeleton. Just yes, or something, I don't know. Paradox thought exercises are just so strange, I'll say. It's so hard to get your head around them. Like Schrodinger's cat, that's another fun thought experiment. That just makes you feel like, your gap in the understandings of the universe are just that vast. I swear I walked out of college feeling dumber than when I first walked in. And it's not a failure of the education system in that regard. It's just, you realize, like, the more you learn, the more you realize how little you really know. And it's like, oh my god. Oh, that oh my god feeling is just so real. Mm. Let's see. Yeah, he kind of looks like he's making an okay hand in this pose, don't y'all think? I'm terrible. What is wrong with my sense of humor this morning? One of my friends just loves the okay hand. It's like one of his things that he incorporates into everything. And every time he does it, it's just endlessly funny. Yeah, see, it's perfect now. Just oh, I see an operator. You know what? Maybe I'm gonna keep that there just as a funny little Easter egg to somebody who's like pausing the game, and they're like, "Hey, wait a minute! Oh my God, you're Argo. You read my mind, Argo. You read it. Read me like a book." Oh my Lord! Yeah, we're leaving that in now. I'm sorry to anyone who notices it. And if it ever becomes a real problem, like in terms of like negative feedback for the character, like, you know, Kupo could like update the mod with like, this is the update that removes the okay hand, and everybody's just like, what? The what? Like, what did you remove? Oh, hey, Ruffles. Moist. You made me say it, Ruffles. You made me say it. Well, the okay hand is fun to do, honestly. I think it is anyway. Let's see if I can not fudge up the rendering on this hand. This is because, you know, hands, even in pixel art form, are still hard to do. There are no shortcuts to making good hands, even in pixel art form, especially at this resolution. One does not simply steal Panku. Oh my God, we need a Spade meme of that now. We need that. Just him doing the Boromir okay hand. One does not simply steal. Oh my God. Let's see. Oh yeah, we can put this color here, I guess. Yeah, I don't think I understand why this was shaded like that. If we assume that the lighting is directly above Spade, or at least off to the side a little bit. So yeah, let's just let's fix that a little bit. I don't think I understand the intent of that one. The artistic intent, rather. Oh, we still have 3 more hours to actually get some things done, so that's good. Like, and yeah, don't worry, I did do like a full 8-hour shift at night. I'm a third shifter, so I just did that, and I'm going to be doing 4 hours of Spade art as well. So yeah, it'd basically be 12 hours of work in one day. But you know, this is fun work, and I can sit down and do it. So my feet are pretty happy about that. It doesn't feel like work if you enjoy what you do. I mean, there's going to be times when the arts feels like work. So for the most part, like, sometimes you're so satisfied with the result you don't even care how much suffering it took to get there, in some cases. Like, sometimes I just hate the process so much, and then I see the result and I'm like, I'm gonna do it again now. Just gonna do it again. And that's especially true for my feelings with programming, especially because sometimes it is just so deeply painful when no matter what you throw at the wall, you just can't get a particular thing to work. But when it does work, it is so cathartic. You're just like, okay, I can keep going now. I got this really dumb thing I needed to work, and this is great. I love this feeling. The feeling when something works is just, it is like, you know, I don't think even the rush of eating some really good chocolate could compare. It's just like that serotonin boost is quite real. No regrets. Almost read that as Rugrats. Dear Lord, that's that. It's been a while since I watched that. Oh no, I'm messing up how the OK hand is being perceived. So. Yeah, no, we need the shading there. And we don't need to make it that obvious, just stop popping my neck. That's not a good habit to have. You become really self-conscious of your little bad habits when you're on camera for some reason. Like, one of my newest little twitches is like, you know, wrinkling my nose constantly, and I'm having trouble like unlearning that. It's just like, never did that my entire life, but then I started wrinkling my nose at work so much that it was starting to hurt my throat. It's like, oof, like, how does that even happen? I'm trying to unlearn that one now. And it makes my face look very cursed because, you know, I'm always wearing makeup, so it's like my face is stretching in a funny way, or at least appears to be stretching in a funny way when I wrinkle my nose. I don't recommend it. Oh. Oh Lord, that's not something that I needed to look at. So, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, that's his arm. Why am I shading it that way? Okay, so yeah, let's make sense of what we're looking at here before I shade anything else. I think, like, okay, yeah, that is his knee from his right leg from this angle. I think, yeah, so what I need to do is like conjoin this a little bit, shading. It's a bit more obvious because it was kind of like treating these parts of his legs as like two separate things, and that's not the reality of what we're looking at here. You can still use shading to separate them, but not that strongly, because then the contrast makes it look like it doesn't look right. So, yeah, and then have this here. I'm a little slow, but I like to be sure I'm doing things right. sometimes I still get things wrong when I do render an animation. I'm like, oh my god, how did I mess that up? But yes, I try to be thorough. Oh yeah, we can go crazy with contrast here. Let's go ahead and do that. So I don't forget. Because like, oh yeah, that's right. In fact, I need to make this darker because like, you know, again, this is like the most distant limb from the camera. So the shading needs to be like consistently one shade below everything else on the foreground limb. That way it reads better, at least in my experience with animation. Like, it's very important to have that very distinct separation of limbs, which means like this will need to be darker too. Do we have any darker oranges to work with in the palette? Yes, we do. There. Now it's obvious that this is like the background limb. And that's foreground, and this is his knee, so we'll just probably go a lot darker here. Then use like one of these really dark colors to segment the foreground and background limbs from each other. Yeah, I think that's the most sensible way to do this. And also one little thing Pixie showed me, one of the many things she showed me, angel she is. It's like, you know, sometimes you can anti-alias things with 2 pixels instead of 1. So like this should give us like a little bit more of an organic result here. It's like, you know, you don't have to like just use 1 pixel in a linear fashion. So hopefully that adds up to a nice curve in the end. Then we can do this. And yeah, you know what? We could be listening to music while I do this. If y'all don't mind music, I will keep it very low anyway, so that like if y'all are listening to your own music during the stream, like it shouldn't be too distracting. One little album I've been listening to recently is an orchestrated version of Paper Mario's music. It's very pleasant. It's going to be really funny to be listening to Mario music while doing this, I guess, but when have I ever done a sensible combination? Like, it's just one thing I've learned with like listening to music while you want to be productive, you just kind of have to go with the earworms that are currently in your head. You can't just sit there for 10 minutes worrying like, oh my god, what am I going to listen to that will inspire me? Just think about the earworm that's in the background of your mind that you're probably hearing right now. It's like, okay, maybe I should just listen to that song or the album that's from. And you just get back to work. You don't even think about like staring at your library for half an hour like, oh my god, I like gotta have the perfect tunes for the mood. Like, oh, just, you know, what's the earworm that won't let you go? And you're done. You pick the mood. I mean, sometimes though, when it comes to writing at least, I do kind of want certain songs for a certain atmosphere. Like, I listen to like Skykeep from Skyward Sword, for instance, or like writing like creepy scenes involving ghosts and stuff, and I was like, whoa, this atmosphere is just perfect for that, you know. But I guess again, it's like more of a mood thing as well. So okay, yes, I'm somewhat happy with the separation of limbs here. Like, yeah, it's pretty clear that, like, you know, this is his foreground leg, and that's the knee over there doing its own little thing. And we're not giving it as much contrast as the foreground limb so that you can read it from the other. And I guess Could we take away the contrast here? No, not completely. I think it would make sense to light the individual fingers, though. Yeah, I think that works better. At least I think so. Yeah, I'm much happier with that. Oh yeah, there is a way to rotate sprites in GIMP. Let me just take the reference frame here, just to show you. Instead of like going to image to rotate the whole canvas, you can like take a selection, put it on its own layer, and go to the layer dialog and transform the layer instead of the canvas. And you can transform it even arbitrarily, like so. Just infinite spinning Spade. Then you can also scale the layer and everything. It's like you can, it's like image is like, you know, editing the global canvas, like transforming and doing color management. And layer like controls like how the layer is looking. And then like once you're happy with how you modified that sprite, you could then like bring it back to normal canvas so you don't get things mixed up. Yeah, the layer tool is your best friend. And you can even change the boundary size of the layer from here too. I kind of prefer like using, you know, the select tool to like change like the boundaries of a particular layer. For instance, like you could just pick an arbitrary selection and go crop to selection. Now you've made the layer bigger without having to like type in the individual numbers. And if you don't like it, just hit undo. Spin me around. I don't think I've heard that one in a literal decade. It's been a long time since that song was, I wouldn't say not since it was relevant, but it's just been a while since it was in the popular Zeitgeist or the popular. You would expect it to have like some secondary life as a meme, you know? Like, it's kind of funny, it's like a lot of great songs from the past have kind of been given a second lease on life thanks to the power of memes, like, you know, Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up, you know, just... like, that used to be, like, a hit song in, like, the top 10 charts in the UK, I think, and Australia. And then years later, someone was like, I don't know, the internet decided we're going to use this song to trick and troll people. And Rick Astley himself was pretty cool. The whole arrangement is like, that was just even better. It's like, wow, you know, like, you've written a song that has become so much bigger than you and represents so much now. You know, I think that would be humbling for any good-hearted person. So I thought that was pretty nice. And people are not done memeing with it. Like, I know somebody who printed out a screenshot of YouTube playing Never Gonna Give You Up and just included that in the mail. Something they were gonna send to somebody. Just, you can't print a Rickroll. Oh yes you can. It's been done. So if you ever really want to like be extra silly when mailing things to your friends, you know, maybe screenshot Shrek or something. Just be funny. Then let's see, so now we have I'm not overdoing it with his hair. Yeah, because there's another thing that's very important to multimedia projects is like perfection is poison. Because if you spend too long on too many individual details, you'll never reach the other end of the project. Like he'll just be agonizing over the individual details, losing sight of the forest for the trees, you know, things like that. In fact, I should put more shading around where his hand is. That way there's like more lighting consequence for his hand being there. And we should probably put an okay hand here too, just to be funny. Because yes, like, we are funny creatures, we humans are. We like a good joke. At least when done tastefully and appropriately. Like, not everyone's gonna find the same thing to be funny. Like, you know, even some of the best comedians out there, like, you know, they sometimes have an audience who just doesn't find anything they have on stage funny, even though they've probably killed their last audience, so to speak. And they go to their next show and nobody laughs at all, and it's just, there's this atmospheric vacuum at the room. It's really awkward. Yeah, so I'm trying not to go too hard on the okay hand thing there. In fact, yeah, let's just limit it to that one hand. That way people can't be too mad about it. Just a funny little thing they won't be able to unsee when they realize it's there. How about that? How much contrast could we have with this? As you can see with shading things, there's lots of deliberation and thinking that goes into every little decision about the lighting. Now, like, just imagine how much thought it took to, like, shade Lilac, for instance, in FP2. And that character needed, like, 4 shading passes as well, so just imagine how much discussion there was around Lilac's art. Yeah, a lot of time was spent agonizing over that character's appearance, and I guess it was well worth it given how many people are just crazy about Lilac's new appearance. And obviously you have the people who still wish that she still looked the same, you know, like, because, you know, her entire design changed, so. And naturally, not everyone's going to be a fan, but for the most part, I think most fans like really love Lilac's new look. My only point of agony is like, oh god, this is so much harder to make fan art of than her old design. Oh no, so I just haven't done much of it myself. You know, kind of want to, but it's like, oh, I just ain't got the time to make fan art of FP2 Lilac. There's a lot going on with that design. I would have to like find some way to simplify it for fan art. So like if I were like a freelance artist doing a lot of fan art as well, I would like just have like a simplified version of Lilac that still looks the same until you look closer. It's like, hey, wait a minute, you smudged a few of these details together, you know, just a simplified version, so that I could be like, okay, do you want 5 pieces of fan art every half year, or do you just want 1? You know, you can make more fan art with a more simplified design. And then like for commissions, then you would like do the full on detail with everything, because you know, you got paid to do that, so naturally you should put your back into those little details. Whereas with art, you're just doing it for free, you know, like nobody's gonna yell at you for simplifying a couple of things. Well, no reasonable person will. There will always be somebody who's like, oh, you didn't get the proportions of her nose just right. It's like, what nose? You know, people being people. Oh, hey Mike. Good to see you. And yeah, I think I'm finally getting somewhere with this frame. I realized that this particular patch was like his knee for his background limb, so I've been separating it a little bit. Because with pixel art especially, you've got to have like some separation between the limbs, or they just kind of blur together in motion. Like that can happen very easily. Oh, banana. Aw. Oh yeah, she's still wearing her original outfit, just like there's another layer on top of it, but I mean, speaking personally, I kind of preferred like her blue-purple dynamic. I thought that was really unique. It's just my bias. I don't think there's anything wrong with blue, white, purple. It's just like I liked blue and purple. It's just it's a color combination that not too many platformer protagonists have, at least. I thought it was very unique and compelling, and also simpler to draw. It's personal bias. Any reason the bananas are relevant now? See. Oh yes, I figured that was a Spacey emote because yes, like Spacey is a very big Donkey Kong fan, just like me. But like I am obsessed with the Donkey Kong games for the most part. Like the only one I really didn't like was Tropical Freeze. Like but everything else is like, just my brain is 20% monkey. Just like love the Kongs. They're such great characters. Yeah, I think so too, but just my personal opinion. Like, I just really liked, the simplicity of the original palette that she had. Of course, the white doesn't look wrong on her. Of course, like I do think the design looks really good. I just, it's just, like, it's one of those things where it's like, your brain sees something, it's like, ooh, I love how this looks, and then when you're the artist trying to draw it, it's like, I hate trying to draw this. Just, I'm on two different minds when it comes to that. So that's why I won't be like, oh, I just hate this design. Like, I just can't think like that about it. I don't want to be like Dan Backslide, who's like, oh, how I'd hate her. It's just not a very productive way to think about things. Just and would in fact just be an indicator of not having a healthy relationship with the media we consume. I'm constantly evaluating my feelings and sentiments and attachments to media, because video games are more or less my life. I live for video games, but obviously I love lots of other topics too, but video games is like my favorite way to consume fiction, basically. So like I eat just look at me. I spend so much of my time playing video games, making art for video games, talking about video games, talking about art in relation to video games. It's not like that's all there is to me. It's just like this is mostly how I consume fiction. And yes, I think that's probably the best way to put it. It works, it shows her growth as a hero, but, blocking, covering up her core design. Yeah, I think that's probably the best two minds way to look at it. It's the most accurate. It's the most specific way to put it, rather. I feel like the way I put it was just kind of on the vague side a little bit. Sometimes it's hard for me to be very acutely specific about my emotions and opinions about things. Even if I write a big old essay about how I feel about something, I end up realizing, the exact way you feel about this particular thing could have been said in one sentence. You didn't have to, like, you know, spend like 12 paragraphs like talking around the original point. Yeah, of all the characters, he's definitely the hardest to draw of like the free fresh designs for the trio. I feel like FP2 Carol's a little bit harder now, but she's still very simple. So like once you nail down her clothes, you're good. And Mila's new design is simpler to draw than her original form. Like, you know, it's very streamlined and nice, and color contrast is fantastic. You just can't ask for a better redesign of a character. And then there's Lilac, who has like main character syndrome. So if you change one thing, like, you just people get all weird about it for some reason. And you see this a lot in the Sonic fandom as well. You know, not throwing shade or anything, just like observing a phenomenon. And it's like you change anything about Sonic, you know, you've got kind of like 30% of the fans just arguing over it. You know, I think certain people get like very attached to the way characters look, and like and I'm not sure how much that is attached to autism as much as some people would say. It's just like you know, the way we feel about fictional characters can't be different from how we feel about people. Like, obviously these same people aren't freaking out because their teacher walked in with a different dress that day. But for some reason, if Sonic's arms are blue, it's like the whole world is falling apart, you know? It's like, and I guess it's why, like, you know, when, you know, cartoons, like, change character designs, they're mostly, like, changing the proportions and merging certain details together. They're not really, like, changing their outfit or anything, because, like, they know, like, a sizable number of fans will just, will lose their minds over a change that makes them different in some way. And that's something I need to consider with my next video game's protagonist as well. Like, if I want to change anything about her design, it needs to be like merging details together, maybe changing like proportions, but not like adding or taking away stuff, because, you know, people will just will start writing essays about it. It's just interesting phenomenon. Oh, that would be nice, honestly. Like, even Sabrina, like, or Spacey rather, once brought up, like, how nice it would be to, like, give Lilac, you know, different hairstyles you could pick from. But unfortunately with Sprites, it's very difficult to budget for alternative outfits. I'm still honestly shocked that, you know, like, Risky's Revenge got an update where you could play as Shantae's, like, what was it, the magic outfit? Like, yeah, it's but I feel like that just came from the fact that, you know, they had to do all those sprites for Pirate's Curse, so it's like, hey, we could backport this to Risky's Revenge and add some extra content to it. That'd be great. Or maybe they just reuse sprites from Risky's Revenge for that purpose. I don't really know how that works. My understanding of the timeline is deteriorated a bit. It's been a few years. But it's like one of the few instances where I've seen a an alternative outfit in a pixel art game. Oh yeah, Freedom Planet with 3D would not be difficult at all. Like, just, you know, because it's a pixel art game, well, it's a little bit more challenging. Or at least, like, I would not ask the same artist that made the character to then also make the alternative outfit. Like, you'd probably, like, commission separate artists, like, make an alternative costume for a pixel art character. Like, you'd probably have to pay them, like, probably $1,200 to $2,400, but it could be done. I guess. But again, in FP2's case, is like, how do you budget for that when the game's basically a bedroom coder style kind of arrangement, like lots of remote working people in their bedrooms just making a video game together. It's not like they had like 50K to kick around, O2D rigs. Yeah, I suppose that's also possible, but I don't think we've really seen much in the way of like pixel art rigs that look good. Like, personally, I think like Pokemon Black had a really good attempt at that, like having enough keyframes that still look like good traditional animation, but they use like some kind of rigging techniques to then connect some of those keyframe sprite pieces together to make like tweening effects for those keyframes. And I felt like that looked great, but you've also got people who think that looks extremely ugly, and it's like, oh, you just can't win. Do we just have to hand animate everything in pixel art forever? But if FP was like an HD video game, probably, I guess like 2D rigs would probably work, because you would just have very few keyframes that you would need compared to pixel art, where a lot of in-betweens still have to be done by hand. Whereas with like 2D HD stuff, like you just have to have like enough keyframes that it still looks like traditional animation, and then like have the rig handle the in-betweens for you, instead of spending like 100 years doing like 20 in-between frames for a walk cycle. That's one of the benefits of rigs, honestly. Shows like My Little Pony took full advantage of that, and it looks great for it, I think. Everybody still looks articulate and expressive, but the tweening effects like makes it look extremely smooth. It's like the best of both worlds. And that's the beauty of using your tools appropriately, because most people wouldn't really know like that was being used even. It's just for somebody who has a lot of gaps in their understanding of animation, I still have I could still spin yarns about it, couldn't I? Oh Lord. Yeah, I think cell shading would work for FP. I mean, look at what I'm doing right now. This is all cell shading, more or less. I think I'm at the point where now I'm just like tweaking stuff rather than like adding new details. So yeah, we could like, oh yeah, we do need one more shading color for this one. Gotta have that contrast. FP's art style like generally has like a lot of high contrast colors, which looks really sharp in Genesis-y. So yeah, I gotta have that here. And it's a good lighting exercise too, to be able to do that high contrast stuff, I think. Let's double check that like this part of his cuff is done correctly. Well, that's right, I did shade this earlier. I'm not happy with it, so I'll just tweak that. Okay. What other colors would his shoe be missing? Okay, yeah, the darkest color of red is what his shoes are missing right now. Yeah, I guess add a couple here too. So let's remove the reference frame now that we don't need it, and compare that to the unshaded frames. All I did was just add some extra color, and look at the difference here. Let's just like grab and rotate one of these for reference. for comparison. Yeah, that's pretty different, I would say. I mean, I'm sure there's more I could do, but we can't spend forever on every frame. Otherwise, it wouldn't get done. I guess the OK hand is more obvious now. I think there's like some noise outside. Oh, here we go. Now let's copy this exact frame onto the over the frames where this would apply. We'll need to make a rote sprite version as well in a moment. Oh, this is the even more direct comparison we can do here. Just look at that difference, like just a few extra colors add so much more contrast to the whole thing. And again, the OK hand is standing out more as well. Like, as you can see, the artists for FP2 did a good job on these frames. Like, they're still like really good individual frames. They just needed extra splash of color that they didn't get time to do because, like, you know, the Spade boss fight was cut out from the game, so they didn't get around to finishing it. Like, well, they cut the boss out, so, you know, why finish rendering these, you know? So, oh well. And I wonder if we can also apply this to this frame over here. Oh, yes, we can. See, we got a lot of mileage out of just shading one frame here. Which is rare because for most of Spade's sheet, like, every individual frame is going to be like its own individualized effort. One thing you really can't do a whole lot of with FP2 sprites is like copy and paste a lot of details from previous frames onto the other, because like almost every animated frame is like different from each other in a sufficient number of ways that you just can't do a lot of copy paste. So every time, so like for each of his walk cycle frames, for instance, like I basically had to shade everything by hand each time. Like, there was nothing I could copy and paste to save time. Like, so every one of those, that's why it took a couple of days to shade his walk cycle and then make sure everything was consistent animation wise, because yeah, I had to do it all from scratch each time. Except maybe this shoe. I think that one frame of the shoe was all that I could copy. Whereas here, it's, you know, it's like, this is just like manually rotated frames. So, and yes, I agree. Shading does bring art to life. Making pixel art from 2D rigs must be a bit of a challenge of its own. Oh, I think we can copy this over here too. Oops. No, okay. Okay, so now I need to make a rote sprite version of this, so at least I think we'll need rote sprite. I don't know if we will. What's the difference here? Yeah, because I need to figure out like how many degrees this is rotated before I commit to that. So let's go to arbitrary rotation, figure this out. I'm guessing it's like 45 degrees. Ooh. Oh, they knew exactly what they were doing. It's a clean 45 degree. So, yeah, what I'm gonna do is like copy this. No, I didn't want to make a copy of the sheet. Copy of this frame. Let's be sure that the this is of a consistent resolution so that it rotates cleaner. And export this as a bitmap for road sprite. So we'll go to Spade F2 mod. Exports. I need to Spade test one. Like, this is going to be a temporary file, so we don't need to give it a fancy name. Let's go to Utilities, Road Sprite. And we can go here, Game Projects, to Mod, and the output bitmap will be the same directory. And yes, we just want to change it by 45 degrees. And there's our output file. Let's open that in GIMP. Rotated it in the wrong direction, but it doesn't matter. Easy fix. There we go. And this will already be far cleaner than anything I could do, like with GIMP's rotation, as y'all are about to see. Just because it's like if I copy this and redo the arbitrary rotation to 45 degrees, you can see how much cleaner this is. Like, just look how scrunkly this is compared to what Road Sprite did. Road Sprite is a great tool. Like, I think Ace Sprite, that sprite editing tool, has this like integrated into it. It's an open source utility, so yeah, of course they could do that. Like, it's just so much cleaner. So we can spend less time figuring out how to remove the noise and more time on polishing it. Like, I remember using Road Sprite like literally a decade ago when I was like helping out the SRB2 Writers project. I helped make Rouge's sprites and Amy's, some of Blaze's too, and like I used Road Sprite to like make the Knights animation frames, and I was able to do them very quickly. Like, Road Sprite just made a less noisy rotation so that I could make them nice and polished. And Chaos Zero was just like really shocked I got all that done so quickly, and it's like, oh, just had a little Road Sprite in the pocket there. That helped a lot. So yeah, let's try to clean this up in relation to the rest of the frame here. Try to figure out how to make it cleaner anyway. Like, again, it's a sphere frame, so we don't have to like go too hard on that. Like, Road Sprite is like a very unique algorithm that's like doing rotations for pixel art in particular, because like doing clean rotations for pixel art is like dark magic. So Road Sprite just kind of abstracts that away from you and makes a much cleaner result than if you just used an ordinary rotation algorithm to do that by hand. And it's pretty nice. And I'm gonna get some drink. Oh. Okay, we can just kind of leave this mostly alone. Yeah, kind kind of like that. And wrote Sprite forgot pupil, so we gotta add that back in. Yeah, there we go. We gotta preserve the essence of the anger that he has in the frame, so. Like, I just love how super serious a lot of Freedom Planet's sprites are. They're just like, grr, I'm just so ready to do this attack or this jump. You know, there's like lots of eagerness in sprites, in combat sprites, that just helps complement the anticipation frames and whatnot, I think. It's also like somewhat different from the approach I took for Freedom Planet Academy's versions of the FP1 sprites. Like, I kind of made Mila more serious in some animations, like, you know, when she's holding something, and then like made her less serious in others. Like when she's bouncing on a spring, she's just a happy little puppy, just blissfully jumping on a spring. Then when she's holding something, it's like, oh, this is super serious mode. I just feel like that would be very in character for her, at least. Or at least in character for a dog. You know, like, I think, you know, dog characters are at their best when they're behaving like dogs, at least, in some ways. Just think it's cute. This. Yeah, I'm gonna try to wait. If I go that hard, like, look inconsistent. Yeah, I think the best way to like make sure this animates consistently is to have a reference layer transposed over it. There we go. That way I can just like flip it on and off as I go to be sure that it's rotating in a way that transitions nicely. I do this a lot when I'm animating from scratch as well, just constantly flipping between two frames to see how the transition is working out. And this is something like I think a lot of 2D animators do when they're doing pencil tests as well. Oh no. Yeah, that's right, they're using like some shading to outline his pupil, so gotta keep that. That's going to be a little tough to do. Yeah, no, it needs to be completely dark to be consistent with the other one. I just wanted to imply his pupil as best I could. Hmm. I'll have to yeah, gotta have the bridge of the nose take into account these glasses. You know, wrote Sprite is just an algorithm. It can't comprehend um, anatomical details like this. Or should it? It's still up to the artist to hand tweak a lot of things. A tool is only as good as you can use it. Hmm. Why am I so wishy-washy about this? Let's just leave it that way. And if I really want to be that way, I can just remove this one pixel here. Hmm. Then, again, I'm not going to be too worried about the individual details of this rotated version. Yeah, and I think we can safely darken these given the direction the sprite's going in. Oh wait, maybe not. Yeah, because we have to deal with the fact this particular frame will be rotating, so yeah, we can't get rid of that detail. So yeah, it has to look consistent between frames. Hmm. 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 Okay, if I'm happy enough with this, we'll make a rendered GIF of it and see what we think of it. In motion, I mean. Okay, that should do it. Yep, and that broke a little bit with the algorithm. Oh, well, I appreciate you coming, Mike, and I hope you get some rest over there. Or have a good night, or morning, rather. Good of you to join. Hopefully I'll get more done than just 1 or 2 frames next time. I need to talk as I draw instead of going on a spiel while just staring at the canvas. It's one of my habits I need to work on. Oh, that's you're close. This is Paper Mario music. I'm guessing they used some Paper Mario music in that game. Aw. Then, okay. Then anti-aliasing here. Oh, and that's okay. Then, kind of amazing that the hand came out mostly okay with the algorithm. It just one pixel that was out of alignment. And this could certainly look a little less scratchy. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they were referencing in the game. I haven't played a lot of the Mario and Luigi RPGs, sadly. Despite having a Game Boy Advance, I kind of missed out on those in their heyday. Kid me spent all their free money on like the Sonic Advance games. You know, an otter would be pretty cute. Like I do like otters as well. I think they're neat little animals. And like one of my favorite children's shows as a kid was like PB&J Otter. I remember nothing from it. I just remember the characters, because you know it's been too long. Like you know, I'm old enough that I could say I was probably like the first generation of kids that watched Nickelodeon Jr. Waving around the fact that I'm old again. Look at me. It was But yeah, that's where my love of otters first started. You know, then you know, watching videos of them on the internet doing all kinds of interesting activities. Yeah, they're definitely babies. I love them. Granted, I love all kinds of animals in the animal kingdom. Like, I don't really have like one species I'm partial towards. Even with my Sona being a goat, like that's just one of many animals I like, honestly. Kind of hard to say I have a particular favorite. Like, there's just so many great creatures out there to admire, and there's even more out there to explore and find. Also, whoops, can't have that now. Yeah, that's more consistent. Then, okay, yeah, I think the mouth here also needs to be like that. Yeah, there we go. Well, it looks more consistent on paper, but not really. Yeah, this is better. Wrote Sprite had it figured out. That's right, that's not connected. Yep, these are, so... Yeah, we might have like... Here we go. Just trying to find the right balance of contrasting colors here. I think I'm done playing with this. Let's see how this looks in animation. Which means I'm going to copy this over here. Oh, just need to move it down a bit. Oh, move it down so far. Oh, there we go. Wait, no. Wow, the frame changed so much. Like, it's kind of unrecognizable. Oh, coming up with the personality for a character is pretty tough. I feel like it's one of those things you just have to feel out through storytelling in a lot of regards. Like, you know, just generally gauging, like, how they would react to this situation or that. Just, you know, figuring out what's in character for them by writing stories and discerning from there, like, what seems natural for that particular character. It's definitely not a science. It's very much an art, figuring out what makes sense for each character. Also, I didn't realize that was kind of fudged up. So yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that. Boom. There we go. Don't really want that to be kinds of messed up. Okay, I think now we're at the point that we should have a complete roll animation now. And this is one of the most important animations to have in Freedom Planet 2 because most of the gimmicks interact with this player state. Internally, rolling is called inert ball. And yeah, I did say a lot, like, it could be on your end, it could also be on mine, but I do have fiber optic internet here, so not really sure when it dips in and out. And Twitch is generally, like, considered a laptop cooker, honestly. It's it's one of those online video platforms that are not great on computers or your internet, unfortunately. Inert, boneless cat, I like that. That's a funny mental image as well. In fact, that could just be like synonymous for boneless cat, just inert cat, boneless cat. It seems to be rotating cleanly so far. Seems to. We'll see if that's the case with this render. And if not, we'll need to figure out where the rotation differences are. Now, can you stream? Like, as far as my integrated graphics are concerned, like, it's pretty powerful. Like, I accidentally had, like, the Ryzen 7's built-in graphics running Dark Souls 3 once, and it was hitting, like, full 144 hertz on, like, medium settings, like, very easily, but also it ran very hot, so it's like, oh no, it's kind of scary. So, yeah, it's very powerful, but I don't know if I could offload it to a separate GPU for that role. If that would be more consistent. I also don't know, like, who all is seeing, like, freezes. Now, I don't know if OBS allows that as the thing. It's pretty tricky. So. Oh yeah, we have a nice, clean rolling GIF now. That's pretty good. So, like, who all is seeing the stream freeze is what I wonder. Because if there's just one person saying it, it's like, I don't know what to do for you. Whereas if it's for everyone, it's like, oh my god, OBS, what are you doing now to ruin my streams? It is extremely tiring to troubleshoot issues with streaming. extremely tiring. Just like, let me show my work to people, OBS. Yeah, I think we're good. Buffering hiccups. Well, I don't really know what to do. Okay, it's good to know fizzy soda is seeing it consistently, but I don't really know what to do because, like, I had the stream set to delay to help with those hiccups, and I'm guessing it has to be on my ISP's end. That's all I can figure. And I've got OBS like in a window down here, so it shouldn't be like losing process priority either. So yeah, but regardless, we do have a consistent what tool am I looking for? Okay, here we go. We've got rolling, so now just so we have this render for Discord later. So Spade rolling 4x animation place, then show in file manager. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, it's really hard to know for sure. I think this might be like one of the prime times for Twitch for certain topics as well. Like apparently like 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in my area is like extremely peak. So it's really hard to know like what the issue could be. If the stream is consistent for some people and not others, I just don't know. I went to college for networking, and I will not pretend to understand any of it. Felt like I walked out of college understanding networking even less. It is such dark magic, y'all. So crazy. So yeah, we do have the rolling animation shaded now. That didn't take too much work. And Leap shaded the jump animation and attacking in midair. Now we need to like go ahead and shade this downward attacking animation. Which nope, will not involve a whole lot of copy pasta. See how the leg animations are different from what this mid-air attacking animation is using. Very different. But we can use it as a reference point, so yeah, we'll just go ahead and do that. Oh, how am I playing the frames? Well, I'm using the animation filter. We'll just reopen this one so y'all can see. Like you go to filters, then go to animation, and there's a playback tool right here. And assuming like each frame is its own layer, you can just simply play them back. You can even change like how the layers are combined depending on like how you optimized the GIF you want to make. By default, it's cumulative. I can't say it, but replace is what I normally do because like optimizing pixel art GIFs is kind of like pointless to me. a lot of them are going to end up being like 100 under like 100 kilobytes already. So optimizing them just kind of a pointless exercise. And it especially makes like examining them in an editor more difficult too, because then you have to figure out how to combine the frames yourself if you need to examine them for animation study. Let's see. So now what I'm going to do here. Oh, that's what I could have done for the inner eye, is I use black. Oh yeah, that's what I did try and it didn't work. Okay, never mind. So what I'm going to do here, make a copy of this frame and make a new reference frame to look at for this animation. That way I know what colors to put down for each individual thing. That's right. You can't see Spade's ears for this animation, so I didn't forget anything. So, yeah, the only extra color he'll need here is like for his, for this over here, his ear. We'll probably want color it a little bit. Keep it stylized. There we go. Oh. Drink some more. I've been awake since 9 p.m. yesterday, so I'm sorry if I seem a little bit sleepy. Once you get closer to the 18th hour of being awake, it's like, it's not impossible to stay awake, it's just like your body is reminding you, hey dummy, can we get our blanket now? Just, yeah. Start sending all those little warning signals to sleep. Okay, so we have that. Pretty simple to animate the cuffs. Like there isn't much to them. I think Leaf picked out most of the colors for the shading, so they're very good color choices, I'll say. Yeah, that's right, we need this contrast color limbs. And honestly, I think that this is better off like not having that there. Let's see. I think this soundtrack is putting me to sleep now. I need something more exciting. What would be more exciting for y'all? Here's something that'll make certain the Freedom Planet fans mad. Like, I still love Spark 1 soundtrack, and it's really good. I'm pretty sure I won't get copyright struck for that one. Just need something to keep up the speedy mood and also not fall asleep. Oh yeah, that's one of the many things we don't have answers for at Freedom Planet. Fans be mad. I'd prefer they be madly in love with it instead, but... Yeah, that reminds me, now that I have a more powerful computer, I need to see if like Spark 1 will play at the full 60 FPS now. Because apparently if you have like an 8-core processor, the game runs smoothly. Like, yeah, it was optimized some time ago, but it's still not perfect, obviously. And the game feels so good when it's like running at full frame rate. Also, these are perfect. And separation of limbs by like keeping the shading dark also means like this particular arm needs like practically be covered in darkness. Practically, not quite. This needs to be darker than the other hand, which is like more obvious. And I feel like this is the hand you'd want people to pay attention to anyway, because you know that has the card in it, so it's like you want to use the lighting to draw the eye to it. Whereas you could use more muted lighting on the other hand, like not draw too much attention to it. And yeah, I mean that's the beauty of fan cannons, you can just do that. Try to figure out how to fill in those gaps yourself. If I was younger, I would probably have like a bunch of AUs as well, but you know, when I was younger, the idea of an alternate universe wasn't even an idea in my head. Because, you know, like, exposure to internet culture was very limited at the time, and I don't think people talked about their headcanons very much back then yet anyway. Well, at least as far as I saw. Like, I'm sure on Usenet there was like plenty of headcanons and stuff. And, just one of those things I missed out on because I am somehow not that old enough to have like seen the internet when the best modem you could get was like 20k, not even 52k. Because the 20ks, you'd be doing laundry just waiting for a basic HTML page to load, and it still wouldn't be done by the time you got back. I still remember the shock of like trying DSL internet for the very first time. It's like, what? The web page just loads in like 2 seconds? What do you mean? This is dark magic. So yeah, I'm not that old. Yeah, I don't know if Galaxy Trail will really do that much with the red scarves. Like, you think, you know, the sequel would have been a great opportunity to expand on it, but all we got was a literal Doge meme dog to just joke about it, you know, this global crime syndicate being a thing. We did not get any further enlightenment on what the red scarves are. Like, what? I'm just a little puppy. I totally wouldn't know anything about a global crime syndicate with its fingers in every pie of global politics. Like, bark, bark. Ooh, ooh, don't pay attention to me. Like, they just very decidedly didn't give the Red Scarves much attention in the sequel. Bit of a shame, but what can you do? Like, you know, you just... most of the story focus was like, you know, revealing Murga, chasing Murga, fighting Murga, appealing to Murga. Wasn't really a whole lot of time to do much else, despite all the questions people have about everything that was shown in the first game. It's like, hey, what are the red scarves? What's Pangu? Does any of this mean? No, we gotta talk about this dragon, you see. This totally new villain, not villain. Like, that's kind of the thing when you got a limited budget. Like, for as long as the game was, it's not like they had time for everything. Still, so it's like, I don't think there's any version of reality where we would have gotten a Freedom Planet sequel that told us everything we wanted to know. So I feel like, with Shamu Architect, like when I do get to working on like Spade's side of the story, like that'll be like probably the most that anybody will have explored of the Red Scarves in like video game form. And we do have some very silly ideas for that. Hopefully it'll end up being an interpretation of the Red Scarves that people find creatively satisfying. Because, the nature of the story that we have allows for that sort of expansion. Like, the stakes of the story are not as high as FB2, so we can, like, slow down and explore certain things that weren't given that much attention previously. And, that's another thing they didn't even answer is, like, what... Syntax and Pangu being more or less the same thing. Like, they're similar enough that they could be combined, or mistaken for one or the other. One thing I do wish, though, is that, for, like, the scene where they imply that they painted Syntax to, like, Pangu, that we had actually gotten a frame of it colored, like covered in blue paint that's dripping everywhere. Like, I think Portal 2 just made the entire concept of blue paint funny for some reason, for me. Just haha, suckers, you didn't get Pangu. You got Pangu's sister covered in blue paint. Haha. There. Or whatever Syntax and Pangu are to each other, I'm not really sure, honestly. Like, again, we don't get answers on that one. This is one of those things that, like, more books in the library would have absolutely helped with, but programming readable books in video games is such an enormous headache, depending on what kind of engine or IDE you're using. Like, I remember talking to Will about, well, how possible would it be to, like, bring the emails back to FP2? He's like, that was one of those things that would have helped to give the girl so much characterization off screen. It was just like, thinking about the scope of programming that thing, and he already wanted to just lay down and sleep, It was just, you would need, like, more than one programming session to figure that one out. It'd be a multi-week project, And nobody had any will left to do that. The game was released. It's disappointing, but I can't say I blame them. Oh yeah, the boss music in Spark is really good. Oh yeah, I'm sure there's lots of lore just sitting right under our noses everywhere in both FP1 and 2. If only we got to understand their significance. If only. Now this is the foot that would probably want to be dark, yes. So, too dark. I do love the boss music in this game. Yeah, it's definitely a thing. There's lots of like the more you think about freedom plan, the more questions you have, I think. So I try not to think too much about it myself, because it's like, oh, if I got it, we're never getting answers to that one. Just, when you're the one disappointing yourself, like who else you got to blame on that one? Not necessarily developers so much as a mind too curious for its own good. You might sooner no. Let's not start your sentences while you're still forming them in your head, brain. Don't do that. Socializing 101. Even. And it's pretty easy to say something that only seemed coherent on paper, but then the words come out of your mouth and it's like, oh wait, no, I should have thought about how I wanted to phrase this first. Really should have thought about that. No. Oh no. Just to live with his pants being baggy. Then yeah, we'll definitely need more contrast if this is going to be the less dominant hand in the lighting. Which means this one is darker overall. Not that dark though. Yeah, we'll just I think just because the hand being there, like this needs to be darker. Not all the way, just more surface, just needs to be darker. Some highlights to show the bagginess. Then we have this contrast there. awesome. Oh yeah, you do have this extra color too. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, there is a lot that I do know just from digging down to the bedrock of Freedom Planet and for the purposes of recreating um, its world in a fan game context. So I know about as much as you can without like having directly picked Spacey's brain on that one. Because like even when I was in like the beta server for Freedom Planet 2, I didn't really ask a whole lot of questions because it's like wasn't really relevant to the job necessarily. It was I was there to be a Q&A, like, because the game was so long, nobody had really tested the full playthrough to be sure the game wouldn't blow up at some point. And somehow it didn't. On me on my first run. So it's mostly there to just, do quality assurance testing. Wrote a couple of big essays about what I did and didn't like. Just kind of moved on. So yeah, I didn't really pick anybody's brain about a lot of specific stuff. Just would have made the process unnecessarily slow given the specific role that I had. Like, you can like communicate too much in team-related kind of things, so I just didn't want to be a burden in that regard. And some of the I only know like a scant few things that haven't been said publicly, but I don't feel like they're important enough to really like spill the beans on. It's just stuff that could or could not be explored in the context of Freedom Planet. It's just stuff about the wider universe that it's connected to, which again I don't know a whole lot of, but it's just not of much consequence to Freedom Planet itself. Just like exterior world building stuff that would probably be more relevant in like other projects that Spacey wants to work on. Like if she builds games that are still part of her extended universe, so to speak, like then that stuff will come up. But in Freedom Planet's context, it's not that important to it. Not relevant, rather. Well, I mean, some of that is probably big spoiler territory. At the same time, it's like, this is still just, a fan game. Like, it's not going to have any consequence or to the official canon. It's just like a non-canon exploration of things we could get answers on. Again, I don't think it's wrong that we do end up having a lot of questions. It's just for some reason, like, with Freedom Planet, the setting is grounded enough that, the sci-fi brains inside of us just, like, start asking questions like, ooh, how could we rationalize this aspect of the world or that, Like, how could we do that? Whereas with Sonic, like, whoever stopped and asked, like, okay, how did Eggman build a like, tractor beam big enough to steal a planet? How did he do that? How did he just steal a planet for an amusement park megastructure? How did he even make an amusement park. Like, just nobody ever stops to ask that about Sonic, but for some reason with Freedom Planet, it's like the setting is grounded enough that people start overthinking things and want more answers on things. Which is definitely unique to Freedom Planet for the time being, at least, I think. I feel like with my next video game project, which will be in its own original universe, it will be even more grounded than Freedom Planet in some ways, and so I'm going to get pounded with even more questions if people end up liking it. Like, I guess the more cartoony your setting is, the less people think about, like, this or that. Which isn't to say people don't think about things. Like, you can, for as loony as SpongeBob is, like, there's plenty of lore rabbit holes about that too, believe it or not. And I ended up watching one of those video essays, and I walked away thinking, like, wow, I never thought about SpongeBob that deeply before. And I don't think I want to again. Like, that was like, wow, that was a very particularly deep rabbit hole. Like, don't watch the videos about skin theory in context of SpongeBob. That is not for the faint of heart. But yeah, even for just regular cartoons, like, there's always one person that wants to know answers to their very highly specific questions that no one else is asking. But with Freedom Planet, it seems like that is a more frequent event than for most other cartoony video games. It's very unique to it, I would say. Not too many video game communities get asked, like, okay, how are the characters able to jump this high? Like, what's the planet's gravity? What is the atmospheric density? What is the composition of the atmosphere even? Because, like, depending on atmosphere, pressure, the types of gases in the atmosphere, whatnot, like that. All these different things can change the terminal velocity and speed of jumps, for instance. Not just necessarily the gravity of the planet itself. That was something I decided to figure out how to answer for my next game project, because obviously somebody's going to ask, like, okay, how is this character able to jump so high? I'm like, okay, it's slightly smaller than Earth and the atmosphere is very dense. Easy peasy. Answer the question right away. Not as dense as Venus, of course, that would just be too cumbersome, but a little bit denser. Like, I even noted on the world map for the world that, how on, like, most maps for the planet Earth, like, you've got reference markers telling you, like, how many miles that a particular inch of the map would represent. I made sure that was also taken into account with the map of that world. Get something to drink. Of course, the reason I even came up with those answers is because I like to have answers like that myself, but if anyone ends up asking it and be like, I'm way ahead of you, friend. I figured this out years ago. It's just, my sci-fi brain just likes to think about these things. A paradox prism. I don't think I know what that is. Are we talking about the Phantom Ruby by chance? Okay, so yeah, let's do some anti-aliasing around his hair now. Not that hard. Then, so, excuse me. Yeah, the Phantom Ruby is a interesting thing, to say the least. Like, you think it would be like the most consequential thing to happen to the Sonic canon, and yet it's just it seems like this one-time thing. They wanted to have her a plot. Oh, almost went down the wrong way. I think you and everyone else really, like, I think even people who love horses would have to admit, you know, the writing, or at least the localization, could have been a little bit better. Now, granted, I've never bought or played horses. Like, I don't buy every single Sonic game there is. It's not because I'm picky. I just I can't buy everything, so I have to make some choices. And my choice was Sonic Mania at the time. That's what I picked. But I was mostly happy with that purchase. Just kind of refreshing to see the classic gameplay return in some form or another. Yeah, I'm not too afraid to spend money in comparison. That's because, you know, like, you know, when you have like a source of income, like you know what you can occasionally buy, you know what you can occasionally commit to consumerism and have a thing. But yeah, I do feel you, like, so I remember at one point, I was extremely picky about what I spent on money on. Like, like a particular game had to look very compelling to me on its face for me to even give it a chance. Whereas now my tastes have kind of grown a little bit. Like, I was pretty happy to give Penny's Big Breakaway a chance recently, and I'd love to stream that game. It's definitely not what I would call like an obsession game that you like play and feel like it's arresting your attention for weeks at a time. But I still love it. Like, just you know, there's a part of me that would love to see more wacky PlayStation 1 style platformers again, and it's just, you know, Penny just kind of harkened to that particular desire, so I was very happy to experience that game and relive the joy of experiencing all these weird experimental games on the PlayStation 1 and the Saturn as a teenager. Yeah, I would say Penny's pretty fun. It's not perfect mechanically, but I think it's like, it's the first game of its kind. So yeah, they've got some things to work on. But for a first game, assuming there are going to be sequels for a first outing, like that's a miraculous release, honestly. It's pretty rare to see a new game from a new studio release and just mostly hit the 80 marks on reviews, and for good reason too. Like, that was just the release and everything, just a big miracle to me. Like, I'm very happy for Evening Star. Now, I do want to see what they do next. Whether that be Penny or some other new game. I think, now that they've gotten through all the teething problems with 3D with like their boutique game engine, like who knows what they could do with all that hindsight now. Just incredible. Definitely looking forward to what they do from here. It was nice to see them strike out on their own and make something new as well. Like, I've always wanted to see, like, a complete platformer from Taxman and Friends on their own terms. And that game was definitely very fresh. And I'm very confident teenage me would have, like, obsessed over Penny for a time. And maybe drew, like, tons of fan art despite trying and failing. Her design is a bit more on the complex side. Like a lot of these FP2 characters we're dealing with. Wait a minute. We're good. I think that's a good addition. Then use this darkest color to create more separation between his hand and his hair color. Because I'm pretty sure you want the player to be able to read where his hands are. And we're not worried about rendering his thumb because that's going to be behind the card. But we do need to, like, have some contrast colors there. Oh, I see this is Argo's favorite track. Sunset Heights, Stage 6. I have to say, I don't think there's a single piece on the Spark soundtrack that misses. It's all good. Yeah, Penny is a good time. I think if I was like younger and experienced a game like Penny on like the PlayStation 1 or the Saturn, like I think teenage me would have had a slight crush on her. Like, she's really cute, I think, especially her animated form, just adorable. Whereas me now is like with my adult mind while consuming media, I'm like, oh my god, she's such a baby, I love her. Get the baby. It's definitely not your usual 3D platformer, and I kind of like it for that. Definitely not for everybody, like, but I think they're okay with just hitting a niche. Like, there's really nothing wrong with that. If you've got a big enough niche, you don't even have to care about appealing to a broader audience, because you might be sitting on a very broad audience. Like, just look at, what is the name of that game I'm thinking of? That RPG that like Baldur's Gate 3, like none of the big publishers thought anybody wanted to play those anymore. Then, you know, that game released, and it's like, oh no, it turns out a lot of people aggressively wanted another game like that. Oh, just that was money they were just sitting on. It's always funny when things work out like that. Then, okay, we don't have to worry about green. Yeah, on that side. Yeah, now let's shade his scarf, and I think we're good with this frame finally. I've been working on this particular frame for too long, I feel. And that should do it as well. Yeah, even with this sprite being flat on top, we can still give it the appearance of definition. Like, Spade's hair needs just as much attention as any female characters. It's pretty funny. Pretty boys for you. We sure love those around here, don't we? Like, a lot of Spade's fans are just like, you know, girls who really like pretty boys with long hair. So, it used to be a very common thing. I know, obviously, there's some like male Spade fans who feel like they can identify with him better than the leading girls and really wanted to play as him. But, you know, most of the dedicated Spade fans that I've seen, they're predominantly women who are just like, ooh, I see pretty, like a pretty bad boy, you know, like, everybody loves those. Aw. Well, it's, I'm glad to, you're able to stay for this long, friend. Appreciate you coming. Oh Lord, Argo, this lick animation is still so cursed. The boneless cats, it's definitely Spade fans in a nutshell. Just, ooh, eat one. It's definitely how they feel. Yeah, just I think predominantly a lot of Spade fans are girls. Granted, I don't really have any definitive data to back it up. It's just like, you know, empirical experience speaking. Just a trend I've noticed. And that's definitely how they feel about him. Like 100%. Like how the emote is both cute and cursed at the same time. Like, that's just Dusky's brand right there for you. Also, how did Lee texture these cards? You need to figure that out so you can have a consistent thing going here. Oh my lord. A circle of licks. Okay, here's an idea. A copy of this, then mirror it. Yeah, that could do it. Definitely occurs mental image, just lots of lick, like I just got the mental image of Plankton saying that in the SpongeBob show. Just a very particular quirk. It's funny to hear characters say certain things instead of just do them. You just said lick, which is such a specific thing to do. It's pretty funny. Okay, so this is what Spade's cards should be looking like. So yeah, we can should be able to texture it this way. Oh no, I just ruined the plane of the card. So, yeah, I think that looks better. Then, fill the inside of the card. Black. Fill in certain details. This color thing. We have this, then that. I think that's probably the best I can do. Like, this particular frame's not going to last very long in game anyway, like, unless somebody specifically paused on this frame. There's only so much of it they're going to be able to see and enjoy, so. You know, again, like selective shading and prioritizing. Oh yeah, and I haven't shaded his shoe yet. At least this one part of it. Because, yeah, I think this one being shaded would matter. There we go. Do I have the contrast right? Ugh. Okay, I think we can get rid of the reference layer now. That's okay. Turn fan down low. There's no way this frame is exactly the same as the other. But let's check. Oh, I knew it. But that's going to be a little tricky. Because, yeah, we can do copy-paste, but not quite like that. I need to stretch a bit. Sorry, y'all. So, yeah, I'm just gonna like can do a little bit of copy and paste to save time, but just got to do it a little differently. This is what you do to save your sanity with pixel art. Because if you try to do everything from scratch, even duplicate details, you'll just go insane. Hmm. 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 Delete this too. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's what copy paste ends for this particular frame. Then we take the knee from this one. Just the knee. Hmm. 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 That looks better. Ugh. So I'll copy the hand and just reshade the other things from scratch because, well, it'll just look more natural that way and be less of a headache. So. I love the soundtrack. Just make a copy of the leg that I can use it as reference. That way I don't get the animation details wrong. Hmm. 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 Yeah, that should be it. Hmm. 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 That's our frame of Spade done. Hmm. 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 Oh, I'm definitely getting a little sleepy now. You know, it's been a long day for me, so. Hmm. 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 Yeah, it's definitely what my brain feels like doing like right now. But not yet. I promise to stream until 2 p.m. That's what I'm gonna do. And we can already say we got the rolling animation done to standard. I'm finishing the mid-air attack to complement what Leaf did for the other one. That's right, I need to note my own name next to that. There we go. That way it's like, you know, everybody can know what who did. Kind of funny, like I did walking, Leaf did running. Leaf did a good job on that too. I'm not the best when it comes to motion blurs compared to Leaf. I did rolling, and he did standard jumping. And, we did one attack animation in midair, and I'm doing the other midair attack, which should be like the what's that attack's name again? I already forgot. What's the name of it? literally programmed Spade in the fan game. How do I already forget? You know, the special card attacks he gets. In fact, I could literally look it up in the game. Card. Oh no, the internal names don't help me at all. Yeah, that's right, it's called the Dual Crash. So that's the animation we're making right now. Like Cleve did like the normal cards throw, and I'm gonna do the special one, the Dual Crash. So that's frame 2. Excuse me. Yeah, and there's nothing I can copy and paste between these two. Now this frame, probably the last one, but not the others. The others I'm gonna have to like shade from scratch for the most part. Oh, never mind. Well, let's make this process as like non-linear as you can imagine. Use this as the erase tool. Love being able to use the fill bucket to do things like that. See, we can save a lot of time on things like this. All the details that are exactly the same and not changing at all. Not a problem. Now I just need to erase some details on this side. That's right, we can just zero out the transparency. Do that. There, that's his leg, just done. Let's copy the other leg. And do an erase. That. There we go. Then pages to 0%. Allow erasing later. I don't want this to override the hands, won't we? Okay, no, that won't work because the plane of the card's different. Okay, now for the less fun part, this is where I can't copy paste anything. Especially the face. Yeah, I could copy paste the second head. Second head I made, but that'll be about it. Also, dear Lord. Sitting for 4 hours straight. Let's stretch a bit. Okay, so. If I were the dancing type, that would probably help me out a lot. I don't think I've heard of those before. A kneeling chair. Oh wait, I remember you mentioned them before. I just forgot. I didn't know that's where you heard of them. Then it's over here. Oh. Works. Probably not going to mess with the motion blur lines too much. I can anti-alias them, but it shouldn't do much more than that. Drew over his Sprite's details that made the animation messy. Ooh. I swear this has been on loop for a while. Yeah, let's crank it up a bit. Oh Lord. Yep, I picked that one. I ironically think it's really good, like, would not be out of place in a Sonic game, I think. Keep my brain awake. This one definitely comes with some neuron activation. For some people, that neuron activation is cringe. For me, it is surprisingly good lyrics. It's amazing when indies can even budget for good lyrics and songs. Now, some people don't like lyrics and music at all. It's a very specific thing you see in the Sonic fandom. I just realized this song probably perfectly fits Spade's whole thing. Just as edgy as he is. Alright, now back to the rest of the soundtrack. See, I hope I can just... Be nice if I could simply rotate the card. Oh yes, I can. There we go. Go. Yeah, that's right. The bracelet doesn't have to close. Apologize if I seem a little quiet, so my voice needed to recover a little bit. I run my mouth too much. I really should learn to pace myself a little bit. Okay, not so easily. This will be a helpful reference. We're getting close to that time. Oh Lord. That's almost gonna leave. How silly of me. Oh, whoops. Almost started doing the WASD thing over the canvas, like it's a video game. That would have been quite silly. I'm sure some people have configured GIF like that, but I sure can't. Let's see if I can also get a pre-rendered copy of the card. Sure looks like it. Yes. Oh, I had airbrush turned on. Interesting. I think it's probably safe to call the stream here. I got more done than I was expecting to, even with all the talking I did. And y'all are fun to hang out with as well, as always. So instead of 10 more minutes of me accidentally hitting all the wrong tools with my eyes closed, yeah, we'll just call it here. And we'll continue this next week, hopefully with some more progress being done in the background. So we can get some more exciting stuff, like sprites being done from scratch. Like, that's always neat. But I hope this was an insightful look into just how tedious shading FP2 sprites are. There's just a lot that has to go into it, as you can see. So you can imagine, with Lilac having like 300 frames or so, like, just how tedious it was to do for any of the animated playable characters, really. So, yeah. But I hope that it was insightful, and we'll do this again, like, next week. I'm not sure if I'll keep this particular schedule for streaming the sprites, but we'll see as we go, and I will keep y'all posted on any schedule changes. But hopefully I'll like stick to one, because you know it's like consistency is very good for everyone involved. Like it's kind of hard to stick to a flexible schedule. So yeah, let's do this again next week. I appreciate y'all coming, and I hope y'all have a good rest of your day. Bye for now.